Hey, it's Kevin DeWitt here. Welcome to another tips, trick or technique session. In this video, we're going to look at fattening vocals using distortion. So firstly, if you are new to my channel and new to my videos and you like what you see, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. So fattening vocals with distortion, right? A lot of the time when we are doing mixing, we're always looking to enhance or fatten vocals, get them to stand out, get them to be really solid, powerful, whatever, in the mix, right? Sometimes our vocals can sound thin depending on how they've been recorded. And there's many techniques that we can use to fatten vocals up and get them to stand out more. I'm going to cover other topics around fattening vocals using other techniques in future videos, but in this one here, we're going to specifically look at using distortion plugins, that sort of thing, to just give the vocals that little bit of extra fatness and enhance them in your mix. So let's just get into it and I'll show you how I do it. So you might have a nice vocal track here and you just need to get a little bit more out of it to get it to cut through the mix and sound a little bit fatter, a little bit more powerful, however you want to describe that. Now, there's lots of techniques that you can use to do that, but in this one here, we're going to look at using distortion. Now, you might think, oh, geez, distortion, I don't want my vocals distorted. But that's not the point of what we're going to do here, because we're going to blend the distortion in such a small portion that it's really not noticeable, and it's going to just add some power and some extra texture to your vocal, but your vocal itself is still going to be fairly clean sounding. It all depends on the music here, because you obviously would not do this technique with distortion if you were on a ballad with just a piano and a vocal, because it would be too obvious. But if we're talking about in a rock song here, we've got some, slightly distorted guitars, we've got basses going, we've got drums going, that sort of thing. A bit of distortion on your vocals is just going to blend in with that music, and it's not going to be noticeable, but it will be noticeable in a different way. It will be noticeable in the fact that it will give your vocals that extra lift, but you won't notice it as just pure distortion. Now, obviously, you can go too far and then you will get that distortion, but that's not the point of this technique here. So how we're going to do that is, basically what I'm going to do is, there's a couple of ways to do it. If you had a distortion plugin that had a mix control, you could place the distortion directly on the vocal track and then just use the mix control to blend a little bit in. What I prefer to do is actually put the distortion on a separate effects channel, and I've got one here. I've just, at the moment, it's just called Vox SFX, as in stereo FX. It could be a mono FX too. It's not locked in. It's just that the vocal track here is stereo. So I just did a stereo effects. And what I'm going to do is I will place the distortion on this track, this effects channel. And then I basically set up a send. So I send my vocal to that effects channel, and I can adjust how much I send to that effects channel to get that mixture right. That way my vocal track itself is clean, right? I haven't placed any distortion plugin on that vocal track. It's 100% clean, but I'm blending in some vocal going to an effects channel. And I just feel I have greater control over that, and it just makes more sense to me than having a plugin on there that I use a mix knob. Everybody's different. Everybody likes one way or the other. This is just my approach to it. So first, if we go to our effects channel here, we can just put a distortion on. Now you can use any distortion that you have in your DAW or like. I'm just pulling up one here, Decapitator, which I like to use, but there's many others. You can use your stock ones. You just want one that you like the sound of and it's going to complement your vocals. So we need to dial this in, obviously. So if we solo our Vox here, and we need to obviously start sending our vocal to it. So we're going to turn our send on, and at the moment that's with it set to full ball.
And I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up.
So we have this lovely setting in Decapitator called Punish, and that will, let's just bring the volume down. Just don't want it too loud.
And I feel down, you pick me up.
Now, with your distortion sitting on your effects channel, you're going to want it to be 100% wet, because we're adjusting how much we send using this one here.
And I feel down, you pick me up.
So we might want to go a little bit darker to say that we want it, because we want it fatter. But we might want to also cut a little bit of this low end out because we don't want it to muddy up too much. Take a bit of the top end off because we don't want it to get too sizzly up the top or crisp or harsh.
And I feel down, you pick me up.
And then we can bring that down to absolutely nothing.
And I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up. You pick me up, you make me feel good, make me feel good when no one else could.
So I've blended in a tiny little bit there. So let me just turn it on and off so you can hear what it's doing. So this is off.
Feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up.
So you can hear there, you suddenly get a lift, you get a lot more power in the vocals, and obviously get a volume increase as well. But you don't hear the distortion. But if you remember, if I push this all the way up,
and I feel down, you pick me up.
That's the sound of the effects channel, not by itself, but that's the sound of the effects channel up high. But just by blending in a tiny little bit, we get that lift without that distortion.
Me up, down on the ground and all the way up.
You might say that's too much.
Pick me up, you make me feel good, make me feel good when no one else could.
And like I said, you could adjust the sound of the distortion so that it's complementing the vocal. We can even say, for instance, okay, that's not too bad, but I'm not 100% happy with the tone altogether, so I might want to do a little bit of EQ or something after it. So we can put an EQ after it and adjust the sound of this distortion some more.
And I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up. You pick me up, you make me feel good, make me feel good when no one else could. You make me feel.
So we might like that a bit better, and we might then say, I can blend a bit more in.
Down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up. You pick me up, you make me feel good, make me feel good when no one else could.
But the main thing is what does it sound like in the actual song? Okay, so with it off, this is what it sounds like in the actual mix.
And I feel down, you pick me up, down up.
Okay, so now I'll bring it in and out to get that effect. But remember, we are giving a bit of a volume increase, so it's not 100% perfect from that point of view, but we could actually try and adjust that so that we don't get the volume increase.
And I feel down, you pick me up,
Okay, and we might do that because it is a bit too obvious. So what I'm going to do is let's solo this. And I'm going to try and adjust this.
When I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up. You pick me up, you make me feel good, make me feel good when no one else could. You will make me feel all is good. And all I need.
Okay, so let's go back to our settings here.
And I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up. You pick me up, you make me feel good, make me feel good when no one else could. You will make me feel.
So now if we go back to our song and let's turn it off and have a listen.
And I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up. You pick me up, you make me feel good, make me feel good when no one else could. You make me feel all is good. And all I need is you, baby. And I can't get enough, no, never enough. 'Cause when I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up. You pick, and I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up.
So you can hear as I turn it on, you can get a bit more power, a bit more impact, and it gets brought out of the mix a little bit better. So you can do that with obviously the distortion. Now, I went pretty extreme on this track here. You might not want to do that. You might want to turn the punish off and just go for a little bit of distortion.
And I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up. You pick me up, you make me feel good, make me feel good when no one else could. You will make me feel.
And that way you might want to blend in a little bit more because it's not as dirty.
And I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up. You pick me up. And I feel down, you pick me up, down on the ground and all the way up. You pick me up, you make me feel good, make me feel good when no one else could.
So I think that's a great technique for adding a bit more oomph to your vocals, especially if you need some more aggression, if your vocals are a little bit too clean and a little bit too nice, especially in a rock track. And this is something you can even automate. So you might have a song where your vocals need to be a little bit cleaner and a little bit more quieter in the verses as opposed to the chorus. Like the chorus might be a big build up with more distorted guitars. And you can quite simply just have this send turned off for all of the verses, and then you just automate it to come on in the choruses to give that extra lift through the choruses, and then turn off again when you drop back to the next verse. So that can be a very useful technique for that, based on the song, or even bringing it in for the second half of the song, or just the last big moment of the big chorus at the end of the song. You might want to just bring that in, or you might even want to wind the amount up with automation as well to actually add more distortion as you get closer to the end of the song, when it gets a lot more powerful. So you can use all those techniques with this send, just with this distortion plugin. Just have it there and just draw in some automation, getting it to come in and out as you choose to give you that impact on your vocal throughout, instead of just having your vocal sitting there flat for the entire song at that one level and that one style. You know, you can blend in this distortion wherever you feel it needs to within a song. So there you go. That is fattening vocals using distortion. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Do you use this sort of techniques? Are you going to use it on your next mix? Let me know. Love to hear your feedback on it. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to put it in the comments. Love to help wherever I can. Again, if you like what you see here, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. Your support is really appreciated. Helps me continue to make more videos like this and to keep pushing forward, providing this content to you. Hopefully the video has been helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.